Hi everyone. I'm just going to give everybody a couple seconds to jump on. So while we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands. Always want to make sure we do that before cooking. So if you haven't washed your hands yet, please go ahead and do that right now. Need a scrub for about 20 seconds. And I also wanted to mention that I have my oven preheated to 350. If you don't have your oven going yet, make sure you get that started too. I don't know about your oven, but the one here takes a while to heat up, so no big deal if yours isn't done by the time we're done mixing everything together. All right, I think everybody is on, so let's go ahead and get started. Hi everybody, my name is Jenny. I am one of Festival's Mealtime Mentors and registered dietitians. Thank you all so much for being here today. Today's class is part of our Family Meals Month mini-series, and today's class is sponsored by Silk, so a huge thank you to them. I just have a couple of housekeeping notes before we get started on the actual cooking. All of your microphones will remain muted throughout the entire class. If you do have any questions though, please use that Q&A function. It's a little box on the bottom of your screen. Click on that and then you can ask whatever question you have. We've got Mealtime Mentors Lauren and Casey monitoring the Q&A so they can go ahead and respond to you. Use that instead of the chat function just so everybody can see the responses. If you're taking this class on demand and you have any questions, you can reach out to us at askfestivaldietitians.com. All right, so let's go ahead and get started then. Today we are baking up some apple cinnamon baked oatmeal. I absolutely love how easy this recipe is. I know it looks like I have a lot going on here, but it's really, really simple. It's basically just like combining everything in a bowl. The first thing I'm going to do though is go ahead and chop my apple. So I'm using a gorgeous Honeycrisp apple today. You could use whatever type of apple you prefer. I just like to eat Honeycrisp, so that's what I chose. You can leave the peel on or peel the apple, completely up to you. I'm just going to give it a quick chop into nice little even pieces. And as I'm chopping, I'm just going to go ahead and put everything right into the bowl because it all gets mixed up. Doesn't really matter what order you combine it in. And as I'm chopping, I want to give you a little background about Family Meals Month. So you're probably familiar with it by now. We've been promoting it all month, but September is National Family Meals Month, and it's really just a movement to raise awareness around all the benefits around enjoying family meals. So family meals, studies have shown that the more family meals you eat, the better grades students get in school. Everyone eats more fruits and vegetables, which is always a plus. Kids have higher self-esteem. So all really great benefits and things that we want to encourage. So if you, like many others, have trouble just sitting down for a family meal, just aim for one more each week. And we've got tons of resources that can help, whether you're looking for like a slow cooker meal because you need something to be ready at the end of the day. If you want just like a 20-minute quick and easy meal, or just like a one-pan meal because you don't want to deal with dishes at the end of the day, we have a recipe for that. You can check all of that out and learn more about family meals at festfoods.com/familymeals. And another thing that I want to mention is that, like I said, Silk is sponsoring this class. They are one of the vendor partners that we're working with, and they, along with some of our other vendor sponsors, have been able to make, or because of their support, we've been able to make a really generous donation to Food for Neighbors this month. If you're unfamiliar with Food for Neighbors, it is a program here at Festival where we collect donations from guests and associates, and then we distribute those donations throughout the state to about 40 food pantries and food banks. And those donations just stay local to where they're collected. So that's a really great resource that we offer as well. If you're interested in learning more about how the donations are impacting the community, you can go to festfoods.com/familymeals, and we do have some videos on there where we spoke with a few of the food pantries and food banks that we worked with, and they talked a bit about how the donations are making an impact in their communities. So definitely give that a check. All right, so apples in my bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and just combine the rest of the ingredients in here. So I don't wanna get rid of my cutting board just yet because I will be using it to chop nuts in just a little bit. So next up, I'm going to add my oatmeal. It's just 3 cups of oats. I'm using old-fashioned rolled oats. So you might have like instant or quick oats on hand. Those will probably work in this recipe too. It will just change the texture of your final dish just a little bit because the rolled oats are like a little bit coarser, but they should work just fine as well. And then I have, let's see, about a 1/4 cup of melted coconut oil. I went ahead and melted that just because you kind of need to melt it in intervals, so it's a little futzier. You could use butter, but I like the taste of coconut oil in this dish. And then we've got a little bit of maple syrup. I think we need 1/3 of a cup. And then we have some applesauce. So same amount of applesauce as we had of coconut oil, about a 1/4 cup. So the unsweetened applesauce in this dish kind of acts like a fat replacement. So when you're baking like sweeter dishes like this or like quick breads, you can replace about half of the fat that you're using with unsweetened applesauce, and you'll still get all of that like great flavor and moisture, but just a little bit less fat. Next, I will get in, let's see, we've got our eggs here. So 2 eggs. And because I touched raw eggs, I'm gonna go ahead and wash my hands again. This is a really great recipe for kids to get involved in as well. We do have a series of classes for like kids in the kitchen. And this one doesn't fall in that series necessarily, but again, it's perfect for kids to help out with because it's pretty simple. It's just measuring, a little bit of cutting, which you can supervise, and then mixing everything together. All right, so we've got a bunch of the wet ingredients in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up with our dry ingredients. So we have a little bit of baking powder. I'm getting to the end of my container here. So let's see, 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Teaspoon of ground cinnamon. This is like all the perfect fall flavors. And I've got nutmeg. So we need a 1/4 teaspoon of that. A little bit of allspice. This is a 1/4 teaspoon as well. Some salt, 1/4 teaspoon. And I think that is everything except for the almond milk. So today I'm going to be using the Silk unsweetened vanilla almond milk. There are so many different options that you can choose from. So we need 1 3/4 of a cup here. Silk has a huge line of milk alternatives, so whether it is like the almond milk, they also have oat milk, which is newer. They've got soy milk and cashew milk, and they've been making soy milk for like 25 years, so you know that they're really good at making these milk alternatives. I'm gonna go ahead and add this and then mix it in. You could really use whatever milk alternative you would like. But personally, I drink the almond milk at home, so that's what I chose for this recipe. We're just gonna give this a good mix together. You wanna make sure everything is really well combined, especially with those eggs in there. And if you've never had the almond milk before, just a little info about that. So it doesn't have any cholesterol or saturated fat, same with like the oat milk. The consistency of the almond milk is a little bit more watery. I grabbed a little glass here. I wonder if you'll be able to see this, but it's not as like thick as cow's milk, I would say. I actually haven't had cow's milk in who knows how long because I'm lactose intolerant. So that's why I choose almond milk. But the color is also not as like pure white as cow's milk. This one in particular has like a very slightly nutty flavor, of course, because it's almond milk, right? And then just a hint of vanilla. It's not super overwhelming. And we chose the unsweetened one so we could control like how much sweetness was in the recipe. So we just have some sweetness from the maple syrup. But if you have like a sweetened almond milk on hand, that would be perfectly fine as well. And then for the oat milk, it's like a little whiter in color. And I tried these yesterday because I haven't had the oat milk before, but it's a little like creamier and thicker in texture or mouthfeel, I guess, than the almond milk, but it's still really good and just has like a slight toasted oat flavor. And this was just the regular one. It wasn't flavored with vanilla. They do have a vanilla oat milk as well. So give those check those out. You can find it in our natural department. So it's not by the rest of like the milk in the dairy department. It's in natural. But they're both really great, like neutral tasting milk alternatives. Okay. This looks like it's pretty well combined. So then the next step is to get it into our baking dish. You can just use like a 9x9 or 11x7 baking dish. I can only find an 8x8, so we'll try to squeeze it in here. But I'm just going to spray it with a little bit of cooking spray. So it's a little easier to take out. Then pour all this in. And I know it doesn't look like it's all really fully combined yet, but as it bakes, the oats will soak up all of that liquid and it'll be absolutely perfect after baking. Okay, so all of that is in our baking dish, and now I'm just gonna go ahead and chop up some nuts. So the nuts are completely optional. You don't need to use them, but I love nuts. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some in. I have pecans today. You could also use walnuts. I just bought pecan halves. You could also buy the pieces if you don't wanna chop. But I feel like the whole nuts kind of stay fresh a little longer than the pieces. So I'm just gonna give these a rough chop. And if you don't think a half cup of nuts is enough, feel free to add more. All right, this looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and scoop this and sprinkle it on top of our baking dish here. And distribute it evenly as I can because we don't want any sad pieces without nuts. All right, and that is basically it. So like I said, super simple. And now I'm going to go ahead and pop it into the oven, which I mentioned at the top of the class is set at 350. And it just needs to bake for about 35 to 40 minutes. You'll just wanna like test the center of it to make sure that it's just about set. And then like let it cool for about 5 minutes before you cut it. I do have one that is already baked. Ta-da! So super simple. It comes together really nicely. I can cut a slice and show you guys what it looks like. But I love this recipe because it is so easy and you can make it ahead of time and just have it like ready to grab and go. It refrigerates or freezes really well. You can just like cut it into individual portions. So Super simple, just cover it with like plastic wrap, or you can wrap it and freeze it. And then when you go to eat it, I would suggest warming it up for about 30 seconds. And to serve, you can eat it just absolutely plain. It's perfectly delicious that way. It has just like a hint of sweetness from the maple syrup, and then of course from the apples. But if you want something a little sweeter, you could add some like yogurt or additional maple syrup. You could serve it with fresh fruit. If you're feeling a little sassy, you could use some whipped cream. There are really so many different possibilities to it. So again, super simple, perfect for those busy, busy mornings. And I think that's everything that I have for you. So go ahead, wait for your oatmeal to bake up, give it 35 to 40 minutes like I said, and then when it's done, you'll have to wait 5 minutes before digging in, but it'll be totally worth it. So thank you all for joining our class today. I hope you had some fun and learned a few tips and tricks along the way. If you're taking this class live, you will be receiving a survey to the email that you use to register. We would greatly appreciate you taking that survey just so that we can improve future classes and learn a little more about you. And as a thank you, we'll be picking one survey responder to win a $100 Festival of Foods gift card. And then to register for upcoming live classes or to view the classes that we've done previously, you can get all the materials that you need for all of that at festfoods.com/classes. And then make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at festfoods to learn more about what we're up to and get info on when we are having more classes. And then you can also find more recipes from the Mealtime Mentors at festfoods.com/meals. So thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next time.